Hi everybody, welcome to Mike Ritual Online again. You're joining me today for the first part of a series I want to start. I'm going to be covering wine education over the next several weeks. I'll go over things like tasting, serving, wine cellaring, different types of wine from reds to whites, rosés, sweet wines, fortified wines, everything kind of in that area. I'll probably cover things like cork versus screw cap. There's a bit of debate there in the industry. I'll give you my opinion on that. You can formulate your own opinions. Significant regions around the world and what makes them significant and why they've done a good job with certain varieties of grapes, things like that. Today, I want to cover tasting. Just basic tasting principles and why we taste in the way we do and what's significant about it. I'm sure you've seen friends or talked to friends or been out somewhere or maybe been to a wine tasting and you see people swirling and swishing their wine. They gurgle their wine, they spit their wine. I don't know if this stands out to you as odd. The one thing I think is kind of comical about it is no matter how fancy, how dressed up you are, no matter what the occasion or event, it always brings people back down and it's just keeps wine tasting kind of fun actually to me. So I've got today with me to help me out with my, to teach you to taste, the Black Widow 2008 Pinot Gris from Okanagan, British Columbia. They're located on the Naramata branch. Just a side note about me, you'll probably see a fair amount of BC wines. I mentioned it before, we're in my garage, and it's located in Langley, British Columbia. We're only about half an hour outside of Vancouver. Beautiful city. So the reason you'll see a fair amount of BC wines is BC is basically my backyard, and I'm pretty excited about what BC has to offer and what's up and coming in BC. I'll be covering tons of wines from around the world as well. My heart is everywhere when it comes to wine. So when it comes to tasting, back to tasting, the first thing you want to do when you taste a wine, again, pour it in your glass. Now, one mistake a lot of people make when pouring is they pour all gently, like I just was there, right? Gently. That's a no-no. You want to slosh the wine into your glass. By doing this, it helps oxidize the wine, helps get oxygen into the wine and really unleash some of the aromas and the character the wine has to offer. And the first thing you want to do when you pour your wine in your glass is just have a look at the color of it. Just kind of observe it. There's so many different interesting colors of wine. This one I would say has a light golden color to it as opposed to some whites that have a bright lemon peel color or something like that. I don't know if you can see it in the camera there, but hopefully that gives you an idea. Now, once you have it in your glass, you've had a look at the colors, first thing you want to do is give it a really good swirl. Again, this is just like pouring, like violin pouring into your glass. It gets oxygen into the wine, so it really unleashes the aromas of the wine. And being a white, the reason I used the white today is white wines are very aromatic. Aromatic more or less means they put off attractive aromas that really can fill a room more or less. Not necessarily the wine fills a room, but for an example, perfume or someone's backyard flowers, things like that. You know, when you walk in their backyard and you just smell the flowers, you smell someone's perfume, it's very aromatic. As opposed to the scent flowers put off when you're dealing with red wines or something like that, you're going to get deeper smells, something like, an example, your mom cooking meatloaf as opposed to the flowers in the backyard. Two completely different smells, but the aromatics tends to talk more to the sweet, perfumey smells of wine. And once you've given it a real good swirl, you want to go ahead and smell the wine, see what kind of aromas it has to offer. Now when you go in, you're not just going to give it a little sniff. You want to get your nose right inside the glass. The reason the glasses are shaped this way is so you can get in there and smell everything. Once you've swirled it, the bottom of the glass is so wide it allows the oxygen to get right through the wine, and it's closed at the top, so it kind of keeps the aromas and stuff inside the wine. So you give it a good swirl, you put it up to your nose, and you give it a really good smell. Now in this wine in particular, I get a crazy green apple smell and possibly a little bit of pineapple and some spice. And the spice, maybe a hint of maybe ginger or cinnamon or nutmeg, something like that. The green apple in this wine smells, even when I was pouring it, reminded me of, you know, when you were a kid and your mom sent you to school with those Sunripe juice boxes? It smells a lot like that green apple there. So once you've got a good sense of the smells, and there's nothing really foul coming out this wine, I even get a small hint of almost a bit of vanilla or something like that, which is something oak would impart in wine. Again, side note, something interesting with Black Widows, they've got a single vineyard small lot program, so they're sourcing fruit from just their vineyards, not all over the Okanagan. And with this wine, they've fermented most of it in stainless, but they've taken a small portion and fermented it in oak, and they've also left it on the lees. Now, with whites, when you leave them on the lees, well, with any wine, when you leave them on the lees, basically what you're doing is you're leaving the dead yeast cells that have caused the wine to ferment in the fermenter, whether it be an oak barrel, whether it be stainless, whatever. Now you're taking a big stick, plunging it into the barrel, and giving it a really good stir, daily, weekly, that's all up to the winemaker. By doing this, it allows the dead yeast cells just to swirl around the wine. When this was discovered, they discovered that it gives wine just a few more really nice flavor characteristics, but the significant thing about it is mouthfeel. In the back end, it gives it a lot more creaminess, or that's more or less what they're trying to accomplish through it. Anyway, now that we've got a good sense of the smell of this wine, let's go ahead and taste it. You'll see how I taste it, and then I'll talk about it after that. Okay, what I've gone and done there is you get it into your mouth and you want to swish it around your mouth first of all. Get the wine to coat every part of your palate, the back of your tongue, middle of the tongue, front of your tongue, your cheeks, the top of your mouth. Every part of your mouth has different flavor profile readers, for lack of a better term. And then you want to aerate it again, just like it was in the glass. Oxygen is very important to wine. The more oxygen you can get into it when you're tasting it, the more the character it'll show. Some tastings go to the little glasses and stuff, and they're really pointless because you can't really get a lot of the wine. So when you oxidize your mouth by doing the, you saw me doing, you're just sucking air into the wine and bubbling it in your mouth. It allows, again, the aromas to enter your sinuses, so you're tasting everything that's in your mouth. On this wine, I get a really nice, again, it's got the nice apple aspect to it, fairly tart, green apple, some pineapple. I'd say maybe a little bit of, it's got some nice stone fruit to it, not a whole lot. When I say stone fruit, I mean things that come with a stone inside, like peaches, things like that. Not a whole lot in this, more the acidic fruits like apple, things like that. There's probably a little bit of lime in this wine. That's her flavor. And I'd say it's got a nice tart acidity to it. Some white wines can be really acidic and biting. This has got a nice acidity that's followed by a little bit of a creaminess when it goes down your throat, which again is probably caused by the leaves they started on. I'd recommend you pair this wine with something like a creamy cheese or a creamy white pasta sauce on pasta, or some sort of light chicken dish. It would go really well. As well, this wine would be a great like back porch sip or something like that. Anyway, you've seen that wine. I quite enjoy it. If you twisted my arm, I'd probably give this wine about an 87 point. It's a decent value. I think it's about a $20 wine. Again, we're in BC. Wine's not as cheap here as down south. But fortunately, the quality is really starting to come up and starting to meet some of the price points, and some of the price points are really dropping as well. I think the industry is realizing that we're going to have to get away with a little bit less expensive wine. So again, a good wine. I'd recommend it. I'd keep a bottle of this around just to entertain with, to take to friends' houses if you need something to bring with you. Another little trick just with serving white wines. Often you serve white wines just slightly chilled, as if take them out of your garage or wherever you're keeping them, put them in the fridge for, I don't know, 20 minutes to half an hour or something like that. And when you take them out, it's good to just keep the bottle in ice or something like that. Keeps the wine chilled. Now, one significant thing with white wines, there are certain white wines that are nice to drink at room temperatures. I'll cover that later on. The thing with white wines, by chilling them, you're not always getting the truth out of the wine. As soon as a white wine sometimes reaches room temperature, if it's got a higher alcohol or things like that, it'll be a lot more biting. I find with tasting wines, and I'll taste a lot of my wines at room temperature. This one is fairly close to room temperature. By doing that, you get a lot more truth out of the wine. Again, you know when you're a kid or whatever, high school party, they were serving some kind of cheap beer. You want it as cold as possible so you couldn't taste anything out of it. That's the same thing with white wines. On some places, if they know they've made a poor wine, they'll serve it really cold so you don't taste the off aspects. So again, you get a lot of the truth out of a wine by serving it at a warmer temperature. That's really all I have to say about tasting wines today. I hope you enjoyed the program today. And meet up again with me later on this week, and we'll see what I can offer with you for more wine education. Everybody have a good evening, and thanks so much for coming out.